It's hard to believe how quickly Natalie's life unraveled. How she went from having it all to sitting alone in a shabby one-bedroom apartment, swiping through dating apps in disbelief. A year ago, at 32, Natalie had everything most people dream of. A husband, a house, a steady job, the full package. Now, she's left wondering how she managed to lose it all over something as foolish as a crush. People who hear her story assume there's more to it. Some hidden drama like an abusive marriage or irreconcilable differences to explain why she'd toss aside 5 years of commitment. But the truth, as embarrassing as it is for her, is simpler and sadder. Natalie gambled everything on a fantasy that lived only in her imagination. Let's rewind to where it all began. Natalie and her husband, Jerry, had been married for 5 years, together for 7. Jerry wasn't perfect, no one is, but he was a good man. He'd swap out the air filters without a reminder, fill up Natalie's gas tank when it dipped low, and bring her coffee in bed on lazy Sunday mornings. He'd tuck little notes into her lunch bag, scribbled with private jokes that only they shared. Their life had a rhythm. Friday movie nights, weekend brunches with friends, and vacations to places they'd saved up for all year. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady and real. Natalie seemed happy, truly happy. They'd even started talking about kids, maybe in a year or two, and had begun eyeing houses in neighborhoods with better schools. Then Devin walked into their office, and the tide turned. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning staff meeting. Nothing special about it until their eyes met during his introduction. Natalie felt a spark, a jolt she hadn't known in years. Devin was tall, with striking blue eyes and a quiet confidence that seemed to fill the room. His sleeves were rolled up just enough to reveal a hint of forearm, and his smile revealed a single dimple that caught her attention. Jerry was cute in a familiar, boy-next-door way, but Devin looked like he belonged in a magazine. Natalie found herself smoothing her hair as introductions went around, suddenly aware of her appearance in a way she hadn't been in ages. She tried to brush it off as a harmless attraction. After all, married people get crushes sometimes. It didn't have to mean anything. But for Natalie, it did. She started finding excuses to be near Devin, volunteering to help with his training, touching up her makeup before meetings, and pulling out her best outfits for work. Soon, they were texting first about work, then TV shows, then personal tidbits. It was friendly, nothing scandalous, but Natalie couldn't stop checking her phone, even when she was with Jerry. "It's work," she'd mutter when Jerry raised an eyebrow, though he didn't seem convinced. Before long, Natalie was staying late at the office whenever Devin did. They'd order takeout, sit close, and talk about everything and nothing. Those nights started to outshine her evenings at home. It should have been a warning, but she ignored it. There was no kissing, no affair in the physical sense, but emotionally, she'd already crossed a line. She began snapping at Jerry over tiny things. Habits that once went unnoticed now grated on her nerves. When he asked about her day, she'd give short, clipped answers, saving her best stories for Devin. Slowly, she was building a wall between her and Jerry, one brick at a time. 3 months after Devin arrived, Jerry planned a surprise weekend getaway for their anniversary. A year earlier, Natalie would have been thrilled, but now all she could think about was missing time with Devin. She went along, plastering on smiles, but her mind was elsewhere, sneaking glances at her phone. Back home, she threw herself deeper into Devin's orbit. They started having lunch together nearly every day, and when Jerry called, she'd say she was swamped with projects. Not a complete lie, but far from the truth. The breaking point came at the company's quarterly celebration. It was held at a chic rooftop bar downtown, all string lights and pricey cocktails. The crowd was loose after a few drinks, the sunset painting the city in gold, giving the night a dreamy, weightless feel. Natalie wore her best black dress, the one Jerry always said made her look like a movie star. But that night, it wasn't for him. During a chat about relationships, Lisa from accounting asked Natalie, "Would you ever leave your husband?" The smart move would have been to laugh it off, to gush about Jerry. Instead, with Devin right there, Natalie locked eyes with him and said, "If I had to choose between my husband and someone at work, work would definitely win." She raised her glass slightly, as if toasting her own ruin. Everyone laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Unbeknownst to Natalie, Caitlin from HR caught it all on video for her Instagram stories. That clip spread through the company like wildfire, and eventually it reached Jerry. By Monday, the rooftop moment had snowballed. The video was everywhere, shared in whispers and sly glances across the office. Natalie didn't notice at first, not until her friend Rachel pulled her aside. "Everyone's talking about what you said," Rachel murmured, showing her the clip. There was Natalie, staring at Devin, all but announcing she'd choose him over Jerry. Her stomach sank, but she laughed it off. "Oh my gosh, I was so tipsy. It was just a joke," she said, though Rachel didn't buy it. When Devin approached her later, looking uneasy, Natalie doubled down. "People are so dramatic about a silly comment," she said with an eye roll. He relaxed, and that emboldened her. Their connection intensified after that. Coffee before work, lunchtime walks, late-night texts. Natalie would wait until Jerry was asleep, then reply to Devin under the covers, her face glowing from the phone's light. Felt like a teenage fling, thrilling and forbidden. She started finding excuses to touch him, fixing his tie, brushing his shoulder, letting their hands graze. When Devin reciprocated, a hand on her arm, a knee brushing hers, she took it as proof he felt the same. Meanwhile, her marriage was fraying. Natalie picked apart everything Jerry did, turning quirks into flaws, while in her mind, Devin became flawless. Her friend Amber saw it all. Over wine one night, Amber confronted her. "You're not yourself, Nat. This guy's taking over your life," she said. Natalie waved it off, but the words lingered. She was living a double life now, one fading with Jerry, the other electric with Devin. Natalie was hurtling toward disaster, and though a part of her knew it, she couldn't stop. She was too caught up in the rush, convinced the crash would be worth it. Amber had always been perceptive, and it didn't take long for her to notice Natalie's constant phone checking during lunch. "What's going on with you?" she asked, her tone laced with concern. "Is everything okay with you and Jerry?" Natalie offered a vague, evasive reply, hoping to brush it off, but Amber wasn't one to let things slide. "Is there someone else?" she pressed. Natalie denied it, of course, but the lie didn't land. Amber's skeptical look said as much. Defensive, Natalie snapped. "You're supposed to be my friend. If I'm unhappy in my marriage, shouldn't you want me to find happiness?" Amber stared at her, almost unrecognizable in her disappointment. "Not like this," she said softly. After that, they didn't speak for weeks. Lying became second nature to Natalie. She told Jerry she had to work late when she was really dining with Devin. She claimed she was meeting girlfriends when she was sipping drinks with him instead. Each lie greased the wheels for the next, and soon, Natalie started believing her own excuses. But as that rooftop video confession spread wider, Devin began to pull back. He'd flinch when she brushed his arm, cut their lunch dates short with flimsy excuses, and when she suggested working late one night, he mentioned plans with friends. This wasn't how Natalie's fantasy was supposed to unfold. Whispers eventually reached management. Natalie's supervisor called her in one afternoon. "Natalie, I'm hearing concerning things about your professional boundaries," she said carefully. Natalie's face burned as the warning continued. "We need to ensure all workplace relationships remain appropriate." The message was clear, her crush was now a liability. Things escalated when Amber showed up at the office unannounced. "Jerry's going to see this video," she warned. "If you don't tell him what's going on, someone else will." Natalie insisted there was nothing to tell. "Devin and I are just friends." But Amber's look of disbelief cut through her. "You need to end this before you lose everything," Amber said. Natalie exploded, accusing her of jealousy and telling her to leave, severing yet another tie in service of her delusion. That night, Natalie crossed a line with Devin. They were the last two in the office, and after a high five, she held his hand too long. Instead of pulling away, she stepped closer, heart pounding. For a fleeting moment, she thought he'd kiss her. Instead, he gently freed his hand. "Natalie, you're amazing," he said cautiously. "But you're married, and I respect that boundary." It stung like a slap. All those months of what she'd sworn were mutual feelings. And now he was playing the "you're married" card? She mumbled something about her marriage being complicated. But Devon shook his head. "I think we should keep things professional," he said firmly. That rejection should have jolted Natalie awake. Instead, she saw it as a challenge. If Devon hesitated because she was married, maybe she needed to prove she was serious about leaving Jerry. She started Googling divorce attorneys, not because she truly wanted out, but to show Devon she was available. The universe, though, had other plans. One night, after sulking in a coffee shop following Devon's rebuff, Natalie came home later than usual. The house was eerily still. Lights on, but no TV or music, no familiar hum of life. She found Jerry at the kitchen table, still in his work clothes despite the late hour, his face pale and drawn. His phone sat in front of him like a loaded gun. "I need you to watch something," he said, his voice calm in a way that made her stomach lurch. His hands were steady as he turned the phone toward her, but the twitch in his jaw betrayed his turmoil. There it was, the video of Natalie, flushed with alcohol and bravado, declaring she'd choose her coworker over her husband. Her eyes locked on Devon. "Someone sent this to me anonymously," Jerry said. "Is it Devon? The one you'd choose over me?" She could have begged for forgiveness. Instead, she deflected. "It was just a stupid joke. Everyone was drinking. And anyway, how did you get this? Are you spying on me now?" Jerry stared, incredulous. "That's what you're worried about? Who sent it?" "Not that you humiliated me and our marriage in front of everyone." The fight spiraled from there. Jerry demanded the truth. How long had this been going on? Was she sleeping with Devon? Did she want a divorce? With each question, Natalie grew more defensive. "I need you to choose," he said finally. "Either you commit to our marriage fully and cut off whatever this is with him, or you leave. I won't be your backup plan." Cornered, Natalie faltered. She wasn't ready to abandon her Devon fantasy, but losing Jerry suddenly felt real. "I can't just decide right now," she protested. "What's not fair," Jerry shot back, his voice rising, "is me finding out from a stranger that my wife would choose someone else. What's not fair is you checking out of our marriage while I've been racking my brain over what I did wrong." Grabbing her keys, Natalie stormed out, slamming the door behind her. In her haze of delusion, she drove straight to Devon's apartment. It was nearly 11 p.m. when she knocked, mascara streaking her face from crying. Devon answered in sweatpants and an old college tee, hair damp from a shower. Not the polished office version she knew. Confusion, then recognition, then something like dread flashed across his face. "Natalie, what are you doing here?" he asked, not inviting her in. "Jerry found out," she blurted, voice cracking. "About the video, my feelings for you. Everything's falling apart." She stepped toward him, expecting comfort, maybe even a cinematic embrace. Instead, he stepped back. "I'm sorry about your marriage," he said carefully, "but I don't think you should be here." Natalie stood in Devon's hallway, mascara stained and desperate, waiting for the moment she'd scripted in her head, where he'd pull her close, confess his feelings, and make her reckless choices worthwhile. But reality didn't bend to her fantasies. Devon's retreat, his measured words, left her grasping at air. "I thought we had a connection," she said, her voice trembling. He sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. "Natalie, I've enjoyed working with you, but I never meant for it to be more than friendship. I'd never get involved with a married woman." The words landed like bricks, crushing her delusions. "But I might not be married much longer," she countered, clinging to hope. Devon's expression softened, but not with the longing she craved, only pity. Backtracking through the months, it's clear Natalie had built a castle of illusions. Every late-night text, every graze of hands, every shared laugh. She'd spun them into proof of a grand romance that Devon never signed up for. Now, standing in his doorway, she was a stranger to him, a married coworker who'd lost her way. He didn't slam the door or yell. He didn't need to. His calm refusal was louder than any rejection she'd imagined. "Go home, Natalie," he said quietly. "Figure things out with Jerry." And with that, he closed the door, leaving her alone in the dim hallway. Driving away, Natalie's mind raced. She'd burned bridges with Amber, pushed Jerry to his limit, and now Devin had shut her out. The weight of it all pressed down, but instead of clarity, she felt defiance. If Devin wouldn't have her, she'd make him see what he was missing. If Jerry wouldn't wait, she'd force a choice. She was too deep in her own story to turn back now, even as the cracks widened. Meanwhile, Jerry sat at that kitchen table, replaying the video, the life they'd built slipping through his fingers. 2 lives, once intertwined, now hung in the balance. One chasing a mirage, the other staring at the wreckage. Natalie's voice cracked with desperation as she stood in Devin's doorway, mascara streaked and pleading. "But I might not be married much longer," she said, the words sounding pitiful even to her own ears. Devin's expression softened into something like pity. "I think you're projecting feelings onto our friendship that aren't really there," he replied gently. "I never meant to give you the impression I wanted anything beyond professional colleagues." Dazed, Natalie stumbled out of his apartment, the weight of her choices crashing down. She jeopardized her marriage for someone who didn't even want her. That night, unable to face Jerry and unwilling to accept Devin's rejection, she checked into a hotel, hiding from the wreckage she'd made. The next few days blurred together. At work, Devin requested a transfer to a different project. Everyone knew why. 3 weeks after Jerry saw the video, Natalie's supervisor called her in again. "Given the circumstances, we think it might be best for all parties if we part ways," she said diplomatically. They offered a modest severance and asked her to clear her desk that day. When Natalie finally returned home to grab some belongings, she found Jerry had already consulted a divorce attorney. Instead of owning her mistakes, she lashed out, blaming him for giving up too easily. Jerry, calm but firm, pointed to her months of emotional distance and that public declaration valuing a coworker over their marriage. "I still love you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Jerry held her gaze for a long moment. "I still love you too," he said at last. "But I don't trust you anymore, and I don't know if I ever will again." A year later, Natalie's still grappling with the fallout, though she doesn't always admit it's her doing. Consequences, not just bad luck. She and Jerry divorced quickly, and he was generous in the settlement, more than fair given her actions. The house they'd shared had to be sold. She couldn't afford the mortgage alone. Watching strangers tour the kitchen they'd remodeled together and the backyard where they'd planned a swing set felt like a fresh wound. After 2 months of unemployment, she landed a job at a smaller company across town. Lower pay, longer commute, a windowless office instead of her old corner space. At least no one there knows her past. She spun a tidy story. Recently divorced, seeking a fresh start. Her new coworkers are friendly, but she keeps them at arm's length. No lunches, no happy hours, no personal texts. Once burned, twice cautious. Amber eventually replied to Natalie's apology with a curt text. "I forgive you, but I think we need space." They've had coffee twice since, but the conversations are strained, filled with polite small talk and tiptoeing around the past. During their last meeting, Amber slipped up and mentioned Jerry, then froze. When Natalie said it was okay to talk about him, Amber hesitated before revealing he's dating someone new. A kindergarten teacher he met through his brother. "She's wonderful, Nat. They're really happy?" Amber said, her gentleness cutting deeper than judgment ever could. Natalie nodded and said she was glad, which wasn't entirely untrue. Jerry deserves wonderful, he always did. Dating again has been a rocky road for Natalie. She's managed a handful of first dates, but she can't help comparing every man to Jerry's quiet steadiness or the dazzling Devin she'd built in her mind. When asked why her marriage ended, she mumbles about growing apart. The truth, that she torpedoed it for a fantasy, is too humiliating to voice. She tells people she's focusing on herself, but in reality, she's terrified of repeating her mistakes, of chasing fleeting thrills over solid love, of ending up alone forever, unloved in the way Jerry once loved her. The hardest moments sneak up on her. Yesterday, at a new coffee shop she'd found post-divorce. The old one held too many memories. A couple walked in. Mid-30s, like her and Jerry once were, they moved with the effortless sync of a life built together. Nothing flashy, just quiet comfort. She ordered for both without asking his preference. He grabbed napkins when she forgot. As they waited, he absently rubbed his thumb over her hand, a small, unconscious gesture of intimacy. It was the same thumb stroke Jerry used to do, a silent, "I'm here," that needed no words. Natalie's chest tightened, and she looked away before they caught her staring. A strange woman tearing up over strangers holding hands. For a fleeting moment, Natalie let the full weight of her losses settle. Not just Jerry, her job, or her friends, but her self-respect. She'd been so sure she deserved more, that staying with Jerry was settling, that she'd missed the treasure in what they had until it was gone. In her darker moments, she still dodges the blame. She tells herself Jerry got too comfortable, let the spark fade, or that Devin led her on with his friendliness, or that Amber should have supported her instead of meddling. On lonely nights, she spins if only tales. If Jerry had fought harder, if Devin had been clearer, if everyone had just understood her. But in the clear light of morning, coffee in hand before the day's chaos hits, the truth cuts through. She had something good, real, solid, true, and she threw it away for a mirage. She mistook excitement for fulfillment, boredom for a call to chase something new. Now both doors are shut. Jerry's moved on, happy with someone new, and Devin's long gone from her life. A coworker who never wanted more. Amber's kindness is distant, a bridge half rebuilt. It was Natalie's choice, not Jerry's, who loved her faithfully until she gave him every reason not to. Not Devin's, who was just being cordial. Not Amber's, who tried to pull her back from the edge. Just Natalie's. At 32, she sits alone in that cramped apartment, scrolling dating apps, wondering if anyone will ever see her the way Jerry did. Like she was enough, exactly as she was. Sometimes, she imagines running into Jerry and his new love, picturing the teacher's warm smile, the kind Jerry always deserved. She wonders if he still leaves notes in lunch bags, if he rubs her hand the same way. The thought stings, but it's not jealousy. It's regret, sharp and unrelenting. Natalie's learning to live with it, this self-inflicted solitude, but the coffee shop couple lingers in her mind. That quiet love, once hers, now belongs to someone else. And as she stares at her phone, swiping through strangers, she knows the hardest truth. The only one who can open a new door is her. But first, she has to stop running from the ones she closed. Well, that's the end of Natalie's story. A messy, heartbreaking ride, right? If you've ever found yourself caught up in a love that felt like it could fix everything, only to watch it unravel, you're not alone. Here at Dark Love Chronicles, we dive into these shadows of the heart because they're real. They're the stories we don't always tell out loud, but we all feel them somewhere deep down. Thank you for sticking with us through this one. If it hit you, if it made you think, drop a like, share it with someone who gets it, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. I promise you more tales, raw, twisted, and true, about love's darker edges, the kind that keep you up at night. Let's keep exploring this together. Sound good? See you in the next one.